I'll get this one recording. Oh, did the weird sound come on to let you all know that recording and the eye is watching? Okay, that's very cool to see. So anyway, happy Wednesday morning. It's freaking push. And it's nice to see everybody. Today's only day 3 of a 19-day contest. And, we've talked about a lot, but certainly we've been talking about a 19-day push, a 1-day push 19 times, right? And making sure that you get the most out of every single day. So today we have a special guest, and it sounds like we'll have Sharissa again as a special guest too. And the way that we're going to set this up is I'm going to allow Sharissa to share just a little bit about her story, just coming up in the business a little bit. And then also I want to get a chance to pick her brain about her push periods before. And Sharissa's done many amazing things inside and outside our business, but also time provided. I know we get done at 9:30, and I want to respect Sharissa's time as well as everybody's this morning for our Alliance session. If we have time at the end, we'll potentially have some opportunities to ask Sharissa some questions because she's been around the business for a long time, since 2012. So Sharissa is one of the top performing representatives, not only in our division or region, but just in the company. Most people in our company do not achieve Hall of Fame. And Sharissa has achieved that while she's been a part of our company and still has work ahead of her, of course, but she's got her fingers in a lot of different things that she does. But Sharissa has sold over 1,300,000. I looked that up before this call yesterday, and I was really pleased to see it on our way to $1.5 million. And I've had the privilege of working with Sharissa when I was the district manager in South San Diego in 2012, and she had other jobs that were going on. And so Sharissa, you can just share a quick little snippet about what you've done so far in the business, but she was busy, had other things going on. But one of the things I always admired from her from the get-go was strong work ethic and determination. It's hard to beat somebody who's resilient. And that's one great word that can describe Sharissa Sosa. So Sharissa, I'm going to have you share just a little bit about your upbringing and your experience in Cutco. That would be great. And once you get done with that, then we'll dive a little bit into your push period. And I might want to ask a few things about the miles that you ran. And I'm going to let you kind of take it where you feel like you want to take it today. But for our division today, we're happy to have you. And thanks for being on. So if you want to share a few things about your background in the business, that would be great.
Totally. Hey, everybody. First, for like 2 seconds, I just want to see if you're really excited about today, if you're really excited about your push, I just want you to give me a little love, give me a little whoop, 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 whoop. Say it out loud. We can't hear you, but say whoop, whoop. All right. Some of you said it, some of you didn't. Okay. So how I started up in the business, I was working at Wells Fargo as a bank teller. I was also working downtown as this like bringing people into the bar kind of thing. And I liked it because it was cash like every night. I liked working at Wells Fargo because I felt like fancy and it felt like a real job. And I was doing appointments like after work. And I had just started really living on my own at the time. And I really wanted to hustle. I really wanted to make money. I didn't think that this would be something I would do long-term, like at all whatsoever. In fact, how I started was one of my friends, we were hiking, we were coming back from a hiking experience, and he was a district manager, and Oscar Miato, and he was like, hey, like this Cutco thing is awesome. Like, he was talking more to my friend about it, but he was also talking to me about it. And I was like, no, I was kind of interested, but I was acting like I wasn't interested. And he was like, yeah, just come in for an interview. And I was like, okay, fine. And I did. And I was really excited about the idea of, working on my own and learning the life skills. And I took a break off of Cutco. I tried to pursue another opportunity. I worked really hard at the opportunity, the other one, and I wasn't really making money. And so I came back to Cutco actually with like my back against the wall. I don't think I even told Evan this at the time, but I was like 1 week away from not paying my phone bill. I was in a spot, and that's when I decided to really take it on full time. I remember getting one of the I don't know, one of the promotions, and I was standing in the front of the room, and I saw all the CSPs standing in the back of the room. And this is what changed for me. This is what really shifted absolutely everything. This is the power of intention. And this is the power of really understanding what the opportunity is and seeing yourself in other people. Like seeing that it's possible for somebody else and seeing that there's a piece of you that's just like them. So I remember looking in the back of the room and I was like, I don't know how the hell these people make so much money and travel the world and have this crazy life, but I'm going to figure out how to do it. And those are going to be my friends. And I like barely knew any of them at the time. So I asked a bunch of questions. I asked to go field training. I asked for their time, and I was working hard to prove that I was worth their time. And they respected that. And now I've built a beautiful friendship with these people, and they inspire me. We inspire each other. And yeah, that's sort of the beginning.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. And so Sharissa now has gone through, I mean, so many different push periods, and you've grown so much. That's actually kind of a cool thing to see, because you know what Sharissa was talking about, like the power of intention, and saying like what somebody else is doing, I can do that too. And seeing yourself in that role is like, it feels like a superpower almost, because not everybody does that, although everybody could do that. And I remember having conversations with Sharissa to like get her over $1,000 for the week, and it was like fighting for that. And some people in our alliance feel like that, like selling $1,000 feels like a big deal. And that's what happens a lot of times when you're brand new. But then that grows, right? And then it was having conversations with her about 2K, 3K, 4K, 5K, 6K week strings. And then it got bigger from there. And it's just nice to see that growth. So one of the ways that I saw Sharissa grow a lot, and there's many of them, was in her largest push. And Sharissa, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like the push period that you did, you brought that one on yourself. That wasn't even within a window when you did your largest push, or was it during a push contest that we actually had going on, or was it a self set one?
It was during the push that was going on. It was during the one that was like almost 3 weeks.
Okay. All right. So
and can I interrupt you really quick?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So one other thing I wanted to add was about 6 months after I decided I'd go full time, when it became the beginning of the year, Evan told me I was like number 15 in the nation for Silver Cup. And I was like, how much do I have to sell to win? He's like, I don't know, a lot. I was like, okay. So I figured out how to do it. And I ended up selling over 190 grand that year, my very first year really going full time. And I missed the number one spot by 150 bucks. And so I'm so proud of that year. I don't wish it were any different. My intention in sharing that with you is the power of what can change for you and your life, how your life can change when you just decide it's going to change.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool to see her flip that switch. And then so everybody didn't miss the number, right? So about 190 grand, like her first full year, really going like, I'm going at this job, and deciding that she was going to find a way to do it. And then missed the national championship in our company by one cleaver sale. Right. And so if you can put yourself in that scenario, and I wasn't going to bring it up, Sharissa, but you did. So, and it seems like it's not as raw as it was years ago, but you know, you learn from those things, which is good. So I would love for you to share some of your takeaways and lessons from your largest push that you ever did, and what made you want to set out for it, and how did you make that decision, and you know, what caused you to push? I know there's a lot of questions that are in there, and maybe we can pull a few things out as we go along, but can you share with them just kind of the story of your massive push that you did, and some of your thought process as you went through that? I think that could be helpful.
Yeah, totally. I was coaching with Jason Jeffrey at the time. He's a rep out in Arizona. He sells like, I don't know, 600 a year or something like that, maybe more than that. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but also I'm sharing this because it's important to connect with the right people. It's also important to connect with your managers and like share with them what you're struggling with. So I remember having this conversation at a Starbucks, and I was like, I just don't want to work that hard. I was like, I just don't feel like I want to push that hard. Like, why am I going to push just because like the company is telling me that I should push? You know, that was really my thought. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but something really changed for me after that conversation. And that's the power of really being honest with the people around you, really being honest with your managers, who are going to understand where you're at not force you to do anything you don't want to do, but help you understand why it's important to do your best, why it's important to be proud of your efforts. One thing that really motivated me was I knew I was going to Italy with my family like a month and a half later or something like that. And I remember thinking like, my ideal trip, family trip to Italy, it was my mom's dream. My ideal trip with my family is like to be able to, one, like buy whatever I want. And two, pay for meals for my family and just being like, hey mom, like I got it, you know, because I knew it was a lot for her too. And that really inspired me. Also, you know, I knew what my commission was with my goal. My goal was actually 40K and I ended up selling over 55. And that's also the power of like, I don't know, I just visualized I worked super hard, but I also visualized like at the end of the week, what would it feel like at the end of the push? What would it feel like to just be blown away by my results? Like, oh my God, how did I do that? You know, not really thinking about like, how would it feel to sell 40 grand, but how would it feel to blow myself away, right? And I did that. I think that's why I sold 55. And another thing I did was, you know, I knew my commission, how much it would be to sell 40 grand. And I made a list of everything I would do with that money down to the dollar. And I think that's really important. One thing I'm doing for this month of August, which I'm making a lot of phone calls for, it's the hardest I've worked in a while. And it reflects that push of the effort that I made is, you know, I believe that this Cutco opportunity is creating this beautiful life that I have. Like, it's less about how much can I sell, but it's more about how can I create this beautiful life. And one thing I did, this is if you want to get creative and like, is I made like this, like I drew out this little garden with like colors and stuff. And I made this flower of Cutco. I made this flower of being intentional just in my life. I made this flower of this mindfulness coaching I'm doing. And on every petal and around all of it, I was like, what is this giving me? Like Cutco, like what is this giving me? And I think it's really important to remember, what is this push giving you? Like, what life experience will you have after really doing your best? And so it's really less about, I believe it's really less about hitting that number. And it's really more about feeling really proud at the end of the day. Like, that was my intention. Like, can I lay my head on my pillow at night, really knowing like I did everything that I could? And can you finish the end of the push feeling like I did everything I could? I remember the first push I went for, I think it was 10K, and I think I missed it by like a couple $100 or maybe 1,000 or something like that. And I worked really hard and I gave everything that I could, and I was really proud of my effort. And then I went on to obviously like do more than that. My thoughts around, so when I did that 55K, I made about 1,300 calls, which sounds like a lot because it is a lot. And I don't think I've ever made that amount of block calls like ever in a short period of time, in like a month. And I'm being reminded now to like, as I'm making calls to like service my customers, most of my business right now comes from past customers. So just to remind you, people who love Cutco buy more Cutco. And that's another thing I'll be touching on Tuesday. But what I was going to say about that was, every time you make a phone call, like, it's not about you. Like, one thing I take a lot of pride in is making sure my customers have a really happy experience. Like, it's not about me, it's about them. Like, every time they buy something, they're stoked on it. It's the best win-win that could ever be like possible. You know, they're going to own that Cutco for literally the rest of their lives. They're going to pass it down to their kids. Like, how exciting is that for them? Right? And if I'm depriving them of that experience, like, what does that say about me? And so every phone call I make, it can be kind of frustrating. If I remember one time during that time I went for number one, I made like 100 calls and I booked an appointment like on the like 90th call. That's insane. Like that sucks. But I just kept going, and I'm being reminded now as I'm making calls again is, maybe I won't set an appointment after like 20 calls or 25 or sometimes 30. But for those people who do say yes, for those people who do pick up, for those people who are ready to answer your call, it's 100% worth it, because you're giving them an experience literally of a lifetime. And you get to reach your goals at the same time. And so keep going, keep making phone calls, like keep practicing your scripts, like keep showing everything that you can show them, because everything that they will own from Cutco will be really exciting to them for the rest of their life. I think that's all I want to say about that.
Cool, that's good. So, Sharissa, I just maybe you can elaborate a little bit. Like I know you make a shitload of phone calls. Like I know this happens for you. And in my experience, in 18 years in this business, is that most people just don't do. I think boils down for two reasons. One, I think people are scared. I think people are fearful. I think, the excuses, whatever we tell ourselves some story about why we're unable, or a fear of what if the customer says this or whatever. And I think because we're trained to think that way, like, because there's negativity around. It's like, well, why wouldn't it go wrong? Like, that's just how we think a lot of times. It's our frame. And so I see that a lot. And then I also see representatives also just kind of lacking a work ethic in general, right? And so I'm not necessarily calling anybody out that's on our alliance right now, but like just in general, like it's very rare to find someone now, even nowadays, for me to find like someone who's like a hard worker like that. I don't say those words a lot about anybody. And so, but I would say that about you. And so could you share about like maybe just mentality for you for phone calls? Because I know that's a sticking point for people. What makes you call them 90 calls and then somebody booked up? Like some rep quit after 11 calls for sure. Like right now, today, somebody on our team just quit. Right? Oh, it's 11 calls, they didn't pick up. So it's like, how did you get to that point? And maybe any kind of breakthroughs for you there, or like time in the business? I'd love if you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, totally. So first I want to say I totally get it. After 11 calls, I can get frustrated too sometimes. Also, not doing your calls, I totally relate to that too. I have also had several days like that. And I say that just to be fully transparent. And I coach with some of the best people in the business. I pay them so I can learn more. They go through the same thing where your best looks different every day, but because that resistance is always going to be there. That resistance to not do the thing you're supposed to do is almost always going to be there. But how are you going to approach that resistance? How are you going to show up to that? So I just want to say, like, phone calls sometimes suck, and it's kind of can feel like mundane, and that you're just like, why the hell am I still like an hour later I haven't booked it? Why 2 hours later haven't you? Why does everybody keep saying no? Well, it could be a couple things. Maybe take a look at how your script is. Are you actually following your script? Like, do you have your script in front of you, or are you just winging it? That is extremely important. Like, everything you're being taught is so that you can be successful. And if you're not doing everything that you're being taught, then you're not going to be successful. Every single detail matters. I also want to share really quick. I met with a customer who is a chiropractor. Her and her husband are both chiropractors. They have this incredible, massive, gorgeous house and this like huge front yard. And she was like, yeah, I sold Cutco for like a summer. I was like, awesome. I was like, most people don't even last that long. I said, what do you think made it work for you? And she was like, I just did what they told me to do. I just did what they told me to do. That's literally what she said. And, she remembers that one customer that was pissed at her about something, right? But it didn't stop her from continuing. So when it comes to work ethic, I think it's important to, and by the way, I don't think I always had this. Like, I didn't do well in school. Like, I didn't really study. I just kind of got by. Like, I would crash study like the night before. Before I worked at Wells Fargo, I worked at like Office Depot, and I remember I sold more cards than anybody there, but I didn't really know I had like a skill or anything. It was just like, this is fun. And so I dropped out of college, and then I wasn't really doing much. Like, I worked at Marshall's. And so I think I always had that work ethic, but maybe I didn't have the opportunity to really give my all to something. And this is your opportunity to really give your all to something. You know, you have the chance to change your life. You could change your life in 2 weeks, 19 days. I love what Evan said. I wrote it down for myself. It's a 1-day push 19 times. And I think that's really important also when it comes to phone calls, right? Like, one thing that was a paradigm shift for me just recently, when I'm looking at a full call day, like today's a full call day for me, I'm not thinking, oh my God, I have to make 125 calls. Oh my God, I have to make 50 calls. Oh my God, I have to make 40 calls. Oh my God, I have to make 20 calls. I am looking at the call that I'm making right now, and I'm looking at the very next call that's happening after that. And that's all that's happening right now. So that makes it more manageable. It's a 1-day push 19 times. It's one phone call happening in one moment. And that's it. I think when you bring yourself to the present moment, you give yourself power. Like, you have the power to choose in that moment. But when you're thinking too far in the future, too far in the past of the people that said no, that customer that maybe was rude to you, that person that hung up on you. Oh my God, I've been hung up so many times. And you know what? To this day, past customers, probably even people that I've worked with before who I thought loved me, I had a couple of days ago, I had this lady hang up on me. And you know what I did? I called her right back. And I left her a voicemail. And I was like, hey, Maricela, I think maybe we got disconnected. I just wanted to let you know, because why not? She didn't know why I was calling. She probably thought I was calling to like bug her or sell her something, but I was just calling to offer her a service and then sell to her when I got there. You're just calling to work on your scholarship. You're calling to get practice. And then when you get there, amazing things can happen. So yeah, I think that pretty much is what shifted for me. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about that. Every single action you take really matters. Every interaction that you have with the customer really matters. If you don't make that phone call, also, you never know who you're going to meet. I made phone calls the other day. I booked somebody who was super busy. I went into her apartment. It was a freaking mess. She had like 5 kids. It was like a 1-bedroom apartment. Apparently they were like looking for a house. So it wasn't the ideal, like, oh, owns a house, age I'm 30. Like, I mean, she was 30, but wasn't the ideal, like, oh, I'm going to drive up and I'm going to sell a ton. She bought $3,000 and it was like a no-brainer for her. Her husband makes the money. She spends it and they agreed on that, and you never know who you're going to meet. If you don't make that one more phone call, you could miss out meeting that person. If you wait, and this is like, as I'm talking to you, I'm reminding myself today, because it's a call day for me. When you wait, when you hesitate, what if you miss that time where Mrs. Jones was like about to get in the car, dropping off her kids? Like, what if you miss that chance when she was available for 2 minutes, right? That's possible. Like, just freaking be present and like do what you can do, because it matters. And how you show up, like who you are, your character every single day really matters. I heard actually I was listening to this motivational talk by Michael Jordan this morning. It's a couple things that really hit me. But one thing that his like high school teacher taught him, and now I'm 50-50 on this, and I'll share a little bit why, but he said, don't rest in between, rest after. I am a full proponent of rest. I think it's extremely important, especially when you're committed to a big goal. See how you can take that rest in chunks, because you do need to recharge. But I think the point in that phrase is, what is your commitment? What is your consistency? And how are you building on that momentum? And it starts with phone calls.
So I messaged everybody. If you have a question that you'd like to ask, we have 5 minutes left. And again, I want to respect time. There's a couple things I want to say first. First, I love the stuff that Sharissa is talking about phone time. The thing that comes up for me is that like, it seems like anybody who does anything great or they become that success, or you look at them and wonder how they got there. It just seems like a strengthening of muscles, and that's what it is. Phone calls are a muscle. I was watching some David Goggins motivation this morning when I was at the gym, and he was talking about becoming a disciple of discipline. And I rather like that. And I was like, that's how I perceive Sharissa, where it's like somebody who can sit down and make those phone calls and not give up. That's great. So if you'd like to raise your little yellow electronic hand on Zoom with proper Zoom etiquette, and you want to ask Sharissa a question, it's great. Okay. I also want to let you know too, is this helpful for some of you guys just to hear a different voice from a badass like Sharissa? It's great. And Sharissa is so badass that we're going to have her again. Okay. On Tuesday, she'll be back. So if we don't get all the questions, but Sharissa is going to be talking about selling packages, cookware, flatware, set of knives, like packages for clients, right? So that way Sharissa can do this with their 50% commission, and everybody can work towards their 15, 20, 25, 30%, 40%, 50, eventually 50% commission, right? So anyway, next Tuesday morning for the Alliance and for Champs Club, we're going to do package deals in the morning. So I see John Roach first. I'll go to you. And then we'll go to Miss Williams, and then Matthew, and that might all be maybe all we have time for today. We'll see. John.
I'll be quick. Hey, Sharissa, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about like a little more on your mentality going into like a big goal. Just the sense that first time a lot of these people are going for anything big within the company, but I know you and I know your mentality, and you run ultra marathons and you're a badass, and like maybe if you can like incorporate like how you think bigger than a lot of the general public. At least I think you do, or like I can't fathom running as many miles as I know you have. Like how does that incorporate into say Cutco as well, where like makes you think a little bit bigger, like opens your mind?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. So I would say, so I'll tell you my mindset about my race, because I think it does go together. And I'll tell you my mindset about like a big Cutco push. So for the race, for me, I thought like, why not experiment with myself? Why not see what I can do? Why not see what's the most I can do and treat it as an experiment? So that was my thought with that. And I worked my ass off every single day for 5 months. It was crazy. My mentality around a big push is, I think it's really important, and I still haven't done this yet with my August, but I did this for my push, and really making a list of everything you're going to do with that commission, like to the dollar, because you know what you're doing? You're telling your mind why it matters. You're reminding yourself why you are doing it. So yeah, I think it's important to have this big why. I think that matters, but how can you break it down to the ridiculous as to what you're really creating for yourself?
I like that. Thank you. Miss Williams.
Hello. Thank you again. You're kind of awesome. So what I wanted to ask is, when it comes to the phone calls, like you said, 90 to 1, pretty much that one time for you, what do you do to keep your positivity going and not stop at the 11? Like, especially if people not just hang up and you do the voicemail, but you get for sure, like you're not booking, everyone's not interested in it. How do you stay positive through that whole thing without bringing yourself down at all?
So that's a great question. One, communicate with people that are around you. Don't communicate that with people who are not in Cutco. Communicate with people who understand deeply. So like your manager, people who are also working towards good, like big goals. Another thing, I was not super positive the whole time. I hated it. I was so frustrated. But I was so committed to being number one. Like it meant a lot to me, and I had the day to make calls. That was my call day. And so it's like, I'm not going to twiddle my thumbs for the rest of the day. I could say, oh, I have to go do this, but I wanted to do my best. I wanted to see what I can do. I wanted to also, one thing that was really important to me is, I wanted to be a representation of a female leader in the business. There's so many people that we look up to. And what does it look like to be somebody different that can really stand out?
I love that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for asking that, Michelle. Everybody, it is 9:30. So if you have to hop and you got something tight, I understand. If you want to just go, Sharissa, just keep ripping for me, then great. Sharissa, are you okay for time wise too?
Yeah.
Before your next thing. So we'll end with Matthew's question here, and then we'll tie it together. Remember, Sharissa will be back on Tuesday on selling big package deals with clients as well. So make sure you're ready for that. But Mr. Torres, why don't you go ahead and ask your question, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay. So my question was, what kept you motivated? So for me, it's really my family, just seeing my mom and dad get up earlier than I did and just seeing them work hard for me and my siblings. That's really what drives me every day to hop on the laptop, hop on Champs Club and do it every day. But what was it for you?
Awesome, Matthew. Thanks for your question. What it was for me is going to be different for you. So my question is for you is, aside from what you just shared, why else does it matter to you?
Because I'm going into college and I definitely don't want to go into debt, and I don't want to put that stress on my parents also.
And so what do you want?
Really just live a comfortable life, be set, and not have to worry about for money basically, and not have to look towards my parents for that security.
And why does that matter?
Because I have two older siblings, which they don't provide for themselves. So just seeing that example, it just shows me what I don't want to be, and it drives me to be better.
So who do you want to be?
I want to be somebody that can provide for themselves and basically just live a full, happy life and not have to worry about anybody else, basically.
Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
Why does that matter?
It matters to me just because my whole life, I've seen my parents struggle. And so to grow up and not have to struggle like they did, I know it would make them really, really happy.
Yeah. That's important, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate the question. And what matters to me is completely different from what matters to anybody else on this call.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we share in common is we want to be proud of ourselves and we want to create a beautiful life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to go a couple layers deep as to why, right? Because the first why can be, okay, this is what I want my commission to be. Second why it could be, oh, I want to make my parents proud. Third why it can be, I want to be independent. But what else? Keep asking yourself that question. Even like, you should have accountability buddy by now. If you don't, find one like yesterday, and play that game with each other. Why? And why else? And why does that matter? Play that game. Why else does that matter? Because that will take you far. And then it becomes less about, it means more when you really dig deep. Because maybe, Matthew, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but maybe that whole completeness of what you shared, that last thing you shared, maybe that wasn't super present for you right now before you jumped on the call. I mean,
yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And so now how important does it feel to hit your goal?
Very, very important.
So remember that, write it down, play that game with somebody, because there's more.
Yeah.
And that's why I think making the list of what your commission is and what you're going to do with every dollar really matters. Because chances are everything you're going to do with every dollar leads to something else, which leads to something else, which leads to something that means even more to you.
So just always dig deeper.
Dig deeper. Why? Why am I making phone calls today? You know, as I ask myself that question, it's, I want to create a beautiful life for myself. I have a meditation retreat I want to do later this year. I want to pay off my taxes. Why does that matter, right? Like, so yeah, I appreciate you asking that. Is that helpful?
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
Yeah.
Trisha, I think everybody got some great nuggets just in that last one too. It's so funny that you just did all those whys with him. Like I literally read that in a book this morning where it's like from a guy, some Japanese strategist where it's like talking about like the 5 whys, and you just go deep, 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 and you can kind of discover. And that was great. So thanks for that. Good value. Morning. What I would love to see, those of you that are in the Alliance chat, Gunner chat, and in your whatever WhatsApp you're on, go ahead and push your light bulbs up. Be great. I would love to just send Sharissa a screenshot of those later on today, so she can just see the, just in the short moment, the value that she's delivering for our division. So, and this is recorded as well, and I'll press this out too if anyone wants to review it or watch it later for the push. So, Sharissa, thank you for being willing to give today, and I know everybody's already waiting with anticipation for next Tuesday on package deals. All right. So remember, everybody, we have a team event tonight. It is a 1-day push 19 times. So let's make it a great day today. And I'll see you all a little bit later on tonight and tomorrow for the Alliance session.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, sure.
Last thing. If I can support you guys in any way, like if you have questions about anything, if you're like, hey, what do I do about this? You can message me on WhatsApp. I'm totally down to just, message back and forth and see if I can help you. So that's one thing that helped me a lot, is people being willing to help and answer questions, people who are way ahead of me. So I just want to also create that opportunity for you. Don't hesitate to reach out.
Cool. Thanks for offering that. All right, everybody. Be great today.
Bye.
Talk soon. Bye.
See you.